Welcome to Family Healing with Rose and Dr. Pat. Are you struggling with painful, exhausting family relationships? Those relationships are in the heart of Rose's practice, and she believes they are the key ingredient in the recovery to our well-being. During the show, Rose will teach you how to take ownership and responsibility for your energy that comes to you, as well as what you send out. What if your family is not the one you would have wished for? During this show, Rose and Dr. Pat will help you understand how to set boundaries, get long-deserved relief, achieve peace of mind, and even reconcile. Get ready to explore your possibilities coming from hardship to shining again. Family Healing with Rose starts now.
Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to Family Healing with Rose. I'm Dr. Pat, and I will be sitting in on these shows with Rose for a bit because one, you'll know at the end of the show, after you hear her story, why this was such an important narrative to bring to you all. But you also heard us now in several shows, especially today and throughout this week. You know, what's come up for us is our lack of understanding of family and absolutely a disconnection from the power of family healing. But when you meet Rose and you look at a lifetime of dedication, skills, credentials, the power of what she sees in her own work, and now today you're going to hear her own personal story, you will have an in-depth understanding about why she is so passionate about what she does. You know, a practicing life coach, an energy worker, all of this is bringing her to the forefront. But she's also a mother, a daughter, a wife. You know, she is somebody that understands what it's like to be on the verge of burnout, like so many are right now, and looking for a way to change, to shift, to find joy, to find peace, to find happiness, right? Just like the rest of us. But what is it that takes you through this life? What might you experience that helps you understand that your life's lessons are lessons that other people can learn from? That's what you'll hear today. Family Healing with Rose is what that's about. And I want to introduce you into Rose. Today's episode is A Kiss from a Rose. It's very, very important. Life is hard, or maybe not. You choose. Wow, Rose, great for you to be here. I'm so thrilled that you have said yes to sharing your life's journey with people.
Hello, Dr. Pat. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. What I said was a very short synopsis, like short, like small. But I learned the power myself, the second 10 years of doing this, to share more of my experience, to share more of, you know, healing, to explain to the audience that those of us that do these shows, we're not unlike them. You know, we go through things, we have fears, we have anxiety. But the question is, what happens when we come to learn and understand what our familiar connections, what our life journey is like? And so let's meet the Rose today. That's you.
Okay. Well, I come from a Catholic family. One brother. My father was alcoholic and a wife beater. Mom eventually left him after about 16, 17 years of marriage. I was 4 years old then. And I went through a wide range of emotions regarding my family, growing up or after I left my country. From loving my parents, to hating them, to judging them, father for being a violent drunk, mom for breaking up the family. Then I blamed my grandparents because I found out that it started before. But, you know, the blaming can just go on and on and on. And as an adult, I added through all this, also judging myself for having those thoughts, for being judgmental of them. But I still could not understand and accept, comprehend, why did they have to behave the way they did? Why all that violence was necessary? It's just easy. It's simple, no? You just don't do it. Anyhow, by now all my family are gone because of alcohol, and I used to blame alcohol also for our troubles. So I was a victim. I was blaming everybody else, myself including. Was I punished? And well, the list is quite long. I practiced it very diligently for 45 years. But I spare you all the details.
But we do that. See, that's what I love about this is that, you know, for a lot of people, Rose, what happens is they never get to the point of awareness. They don't get to the point. That's really the power of the work that you do with people, family healing. That's the power of it, because it's my experience for myself is, had I stayed with the decision that I thought I could get through this alone, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be here today, because it was a lot to unravel. It was a lot to, and it still is. You know, I don't think the process is, you know, like you wake up and you take a couple of pills and you're cured from the headache. It's a process that keeps revealing itself the more you're willing to have it reveal itself. Do you know, does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
How did that work for you? Did it happen that way?
It was very slow, actually. It was.
I totally I get that, right?
Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when I was on the verge of another nervous breakdown. I was looking for, I didn't know what to do anymore, because all my strategies, all my tools that I have used before to pull myself back together just didn't work anymore. And I was, oh, wait, meditation is helpful. Let's try that. That didn't really work well, because sit down, breathe in and out, relax, calm down, don't think. No, that didn't really work. Okay. So I found Theta Healing. What a gift. And in Theta Healing, it's also a meditation, but we go in with a purpose. We go in with a job. We have something to do. And I know how to work. So I was able to focus and to look inside, and then to start working and unraveling everything, and unraveling it all the way to my mom, my dad, my brother, my ancestors, my children. Everything all around me, it just changed. But it's a process.
Mm-hmm. You know, when we think about the process and we think about that level of change, right? You know, we're talking about many, many different aspects of this. You know, you go from a wide range of emotions. And, you know, people don't talk about this enough, Rose, because, you know, now we're talking about how do you go from having, if this is you, may not be all of you, how do you go from having a loving experience of your parents to then despising them? I know that's strong language, but I'm going to use it. because I don't really know. And of course, there's everything in between. There's everything in between. You know, there are many, many things that happen in between. Maybe it's one event. Maybe it's a series of events. Certainly, I can point to my dad and I could talk about the number of times he would lie, and the worst lie he ever did tell me, the most painful lie. But then, is it really the most painful lie? Did I find out others later in life? But as a young child, you know, when you are faced with what we call our parents or our family, and yet it gets very confusing, because what you think you should feel about them and the behavior that occurs, it's not aligned, is it, Rose? It's not aligned.
No, you want to you want to love them, you want them to love you back, but when you have to hide behind the bed or run out through the window,
yeah,
because your dad is drunk and he's screaming and trying to enter the room or enter the house, the love that was there before I went to bed quickly changed into fear, then disappointment, then into hate, then into blame, and then you love him again because he's your father.
Yeah, it's a dance.
And my mom did good that she left, but I spent many years hating her for doing that. She broke up the family. She took me away from my father, from my grandmother. And it just didn't matter at that age. It just doesn't matter at that age.
Yeah.
No.
There's no more words. You know, look, as you get older and you really understand things better, you know, even then it's still difficult to really take the language and the words that are being said and heal the wound. But as children, you don't know that. You don't know family politics. You don't know. You just know one day your Aunt May was your favorite aunt, and the next day she was not allowed to see you. See, that's what you know. You know one day you're going to visit your favorite uncle, Uncle Joey, and the only way he sees you is because on his UPS route, he drives in your neighborhood because he knows you walk home from school, and he stops to say hi. But you are a child, and you are expecting through some innate promise that was made to you, life would be good, you would be safe, and you'd be protected. But when the bottom rung of Maslow's hierarchy breaks down, where do you go from there? We're going to take a short break when we come back. This is the question that Rose is going to present to us. Life is hard, or maybe not. What can we choose? How do we go from that? I mean, how do you take maybe the two of us, maybe you're the person we're talking about. Maybe you're suffering through this now. But how can we say to you throughout this show that you can heal, and that healing will open up the door for your purpose, your passion, what you're meant to do, and how you're meant to live in this life? Without that healing, not saying you can't get there, but it may take you a couple of lifetimes. Let's take a short break. When we come back, I'll make sure you get lots of information about Rose. Ask yourself this: life is hard, or maybe not. What are you choosing today? I know as I prepared for this show over the weekend, I had a major epiphany about something. When we come back, I hope the light bulbs are going on for you. Jacob, let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back. I'm so thrilled to be introducing you to a friend and colleague who has got a powerful message. And it's not just a powerful message. I mean, what we're going to give you Rose's website. We're going to introduce you to a number of things today, but this is especially important. And here's what I want to say about this from my perspective. And then Rose will tell you how you can work with her and find out more about her. When the governments around the world make an announcement, and we are one of those, I think they all did. And it's this blanket announcement that COVID is over. Now, they did this when I was still doing the show back in 08, 09, and 010. And they did the same thing almost. The economy crash is over. From a very economic or from a very materialistic, unidimensional perspective, that's the world they live in. What's the good news? That's the world they live in. What's the bad news? That's not the world we live in. And when we go through life events like we've been through, family healing is at the top of most people's list. Why? There's a range of it. There is guilt, there is shame, there is loss, there is regret, there is childhood things that have come up over the past year that people don't know how to deal with. And I'm grateful that I know Rose, because when that comes up for me, I know who to go to. What have I learned in my life? My first 40 years of substance abuse, and I'm telling you, that did not fix the healing. But recognizing that there's a woundedness that you all have right now and thinking you're going to suck it up and move on, that will get you through January. But this show isn't about that. It's about healing. I'm saying real healing. Rose, thank you. We're going to continue, but I would love for people to know this isn't just a story you're telling. This is a body of work. This is your passion. This is your purpose. This is what you've dedicated yourself to. How do people work with you, and how do they find out more about your work and everything else you're doing?
People can find me online, familyhealingwithrose, one word.com. And they can read a little online, some real life stories.
Yeah.
They can read, excuse me, some frequently asked questions. But most importantly, I strongly recommend to book a free consultation. Yeah. It's 1 hour of your time where we learn about each other. When I learn about you, you learn about me, how I work, and if there is a fit, if this is what I do is for you or not. So that's the best way.
I love what you say, and I'm just going to take a piece of it so that we can continue the story here. You know, if you say, my name is Rose, I'm an energy life coach. Absolutely. I don't even know how to have a conversation about this level of woundedness without talking about energy. And you say you support people living through painful family relationships and help them take ownership of their lives. Stop being victims of circumstances. Take responsibility for the energy and the meaning of themselves. And, you know, part of this is what I talked about earlier today, is we long to be accepted and loved as we are, but do we love and accept others the same way? That is a fundamentally nerve-wracking question, because that has got to be at the core of how you help people, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And not just that. Do we love ourselves the way we are?
I'll tell you what, even if everybody out there saying they do, if you even have any iota of a family story like the one we're telling here, like if you have like one thing, like, yes, I was abused in Catholic boarding school. Okay, if that's a thing, right? If you just go through this. So hard to love ourselves until we heal ourselves. Look, life is hard, or maybe not, you choose. We do have to choose, but part of the choosing, it doesn't always come, Rose, when we have this great epiphany. We say, oh my goodness, I think I'm going to heal myself. No, for me, I hit a rock bottom in 1989 and 1990. And that epiphany changed everything for me. I looked in the mirror in my fancy suit and my big 4,000 square foot house on close to 6 acres with a beautiful dog and a sports car. And I'm walking out of the house in a beautiful foyer with a beautiful gold mirror. And I looked in that mirror and I was unrecognizable to myself. That moment, I felt a sigh of relief and absolute terror. Now, how did your story pan out here? What was it what did you do? What did you choose?
Well, I'll rewind a little bit to understand better today. Growing up, I was brought up believing that life is hard and we get punished by God if we do something wrong. We have to work really, really, really hard. That's the whole point of being here. And help anybody who needs help. But my troubles are my alone. Nobody else can solve my troubles. Mm-hmm. My grandma used to say that God gives hardship to those he loves the most. In my opinion, well, I didn't believe it. It didn't make sense. If you love me so much, why do you want me to suffer? How does it make sense? Mm-hmm. But still, it became a part of my belief system, and a very strong one. And my grandma, while I loved her dearly. In my opinion, I just thought that she was an old delusional woman because, first of all, she believed in God. And if there is a God and one that is like this, then he can just stay somewhere, really far away. Science and nature were wonderful, but they don't mix with God. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. They don't mix with God in the way, Rose, right? When we're in the sort of upbringing and journey that we're talking about, they
at
don't.
School they
don't work. They don't work.
It doesn't work. They don't go together.
Right. They don't.
Science is science. Nature is beautiful. Science is logical, and then there is the rest. And I was kind of floating in anything else, and I just didn't fit, especially with people. How many are you in class? 32 and Rose. Anywho, no matter what, I never resisted what life brought. I just took it all on because that's what we're supposed to do. Many times I also tried to help friends or family.
Yeah.
That didn't work out either. Instead of thanking me, they would hit me back with a stick. No, not with a real stick, but with a word stick.
Yeah.
And so with time, it became very easy for me to resent people, to resent humanity. There is plenty of justification. It's really easy. Violence, wars, betrayal, hate, ruthless competition, how we treat each other, how we treat animals, how we treat this planet. And then when I finished university, there was 40% unemployment in my region.
Yeah. Yeah.
After 2 years of trying to get a job, I just couldn't carry what God had in me, in store for me. And I decided to leave. I decided to leave my country, and it was the first time ever that I stood up against the flow.
Yeah. See, those things right there. And I love that we're talking about this, because I bet everybody listening today realize they've been at that tipping point. They've been at a place in their lives where they had to make a decision. And, you know, I can point back to that moment that I mentioned before. And I wish I could say that it was an epiphany moment, that I had a Kundalini, whatever. No, that didn't happen like that. It was a series of events of my discomfort, right? In the job I had, the lack of integrity, feeling I wasn't on the right path, but I got paid very well. You know, everything I ever wanted to achieve, I felt I had achieved, including the big house, the car, great relationship. And then I destroyed it all. And I destroyed it all in a way that allowed me to get on a path to freedom. Now, clearly the relationship destruction came from not doing what Rose is talking about. Because see, we carry this stuff forward, don't we, Rose? It's not like we carry it forward. And then when we have other discomfort, what shows up is all of that family stuff that we never dealt with, now put in a perspective that now we are our family. Right? And you know what, along the way, though, as you were discovering being you know, what were you feeling? Because I remember that feeling. I remember looking in the mirror. I remember it like it was yesterday, and it was not yesterday. But I remember it so clearly, so shockingly, that I could not continue my life the way it was. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I was not really feeling. I was very happy to have a second chance in life. Very grateful. Married a wonderful man. Still married to him. We've known each other for over 30 years.
Wow.
2 wonderful children. Good job. I even got a house. Never thought I would have a house. I was not feeling much because I didn't have time for that. Yes, I was married and happy, and I had a work and I had the children, but there was always going on in the head the crazy monkey, analyzing the past. What happened? Why did it happen? Complaining and whatnot. Then, oh, now I have children. I have to provide for them. I have to make sure that there will be safe. There will be never violence under my watch, no matter where I am. And then for the future, oh, I will never lose my job. So, but when we're ruminating, and then new life stories come and happen, they don't just replace the old ones. It just keeps adding on. And they all play in the head at the same time. And the minute only has 60 seconds. Today, as it had 30 years ago. But now that machine has to go like really, really, really fast. So when you ask me, how were you feeling, Rose? I was not feeling. I was... That's what I was feeling.
Yeah. Because that's what happens, Rose. I mean, you know, when we don't wake up and say, oh my gosh, I have this now awakening. Oh, I'm going to look at all the woundedness inside. It doesn't show up like that. You know, the process I found gets, we can speed it up. We can go a bit faster by seeking out help, right? If we have the wherewithal to realize that I've just been visited by the 4 horsemen, and we have the wherewithal to think, wow, I cannot do this next part of my life alone. unless I repeat the patterns of what I've done before. When we have that, some people will realize they can't do it alone and seek help. And that's what I want to say to folks that are listening to this today. I talk with so many people, listeners, clients, so many people that don't have words to describe the past 3 years and what those 3 years did to really connect them with the woundedness, if I might say, that hadn't shown up for them in decades. They were faced with new levels of awareness. And, it wasn't, when I hear people talk with me, Rose, it's not like something showed up. It's like the way that their lives have been now and the total upside downness of what happened these past 3 years. It was an enormous opportunity to heal. And people are in that process of saying, I want to heal this. I don't want to carry this with me. And yet what we're doing here today is you're showing them through your work what they can do next. What would you say to folks? We'll take a short break, but here's what I want to ask you when we come back. What would we say to people today to say, you can get help, you can heal? And I'd like to talk a little bit more about that from what you have learned, who you've worked with, how you've helped people. Because the backdrop of your story, the backdrop of my story, gives us an extraordinary experience to enter a level of empathy with people. You can't feel somebody else's pain, but you certainly can have a level of understanding that brings compassion to the healing process. Let's take a short break. When we come back, you're going to learn a lot more about Rose, and you're going to learn a lot more about what she's doing to help many of you out there. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back. I just want to say to all of you, you are listening to a fantastic show, Family Healing with Rose. This is her show. I get to sit here and have this conversation. This is about what it means to take responsibility and ownership for your energy. This show in particular this episode is A Kiss from a Rose. And Rose has shared very powerful, transformative conversations about her life and her journey, and there's much more. But there's a place where she got from there to where she is today. And if you want to find out more about that, and you want to get some healing that you probably intuitively know has to happen for you to move forward, go to familyhealingwithrose.com. Rose, look, thank you for sharing your story and your journey. But all of that has led us to now, and has led us to the point where what you've done, what you've experienced, has now put you in front of people to help them with energy healing and do it in a way. But the big issue that is up for people now is even through COVID, they were able to find some balance, because once upon a time, the situation got clear, and the clarity was, you're not going anywhere. And with that clarity, they could make adjustments. But now, the fantasy of going back to a normal, especially this holiday season, has caused a blip in the matrix. Balance, work-life balance. What is it? Companies don't even know what they want to tell people they expect from them, but they're very clear they don't want them to work from home. Should we care?
Should we care? Yeah, work-life balance. I don't even know what to say to that.
I don't either.
It's
yeah.
it,
had a coach that tried to help me out with that once, and then finally looked at me and said, there's no way that's going to. So, I'll tell you what it did for me. It moved me on a pathway. So anytime somebody brings up work-life balance for me, I come right out and say, I don't believe it. And then I get a ton of emails or phone calls. What I do believe in is harmony. That's what I believe in. And what I mean by harmony is, once upon a time, I had the glimpse of work-life balance. I had a glimpse of it. Can I tell you when? All right, here's when. I had a glimpse of it when I first started out with my job. I was 17 years old, and I'm first working for the phone company, maybe 17, 18. And I'm like, maybe I'm getting $61 a week. And I go in and I do a job, Rose, and then I'm leaving. And then I can go play softball. Then I can go to the bar. Then I can go walk my dog. I leave my work over there. I get paid for that time. And then I have this life. I don't think that exists much anymore. I think that was once upon a time fairy tale, but it didn't continue it didn't, look, it lasted for me until I turned 18. And then I got a promotion into a job that didn't allow you to just walk up at 4 o'clock and walk out. And I have to tell you, I stayed with that company 24 and a half years. And from that point on, I was never able to have quite that flexibility, although I always made time for softball and then ping pong. But it meant that I had to come back at midnight and work.
yes.
This is a conundrum.
Yes. And I have no idea how all the families were going through the pandemic, working from home with small children around. Yeah, sure. They got up early in the morning, worked, then they took care of the family, put them to sleep, and then late at night they went to work again. Yay, isn't that great? Not really, no. It's exhausting. You work nonstop.
Yeah, it hasn't changed.
No.
Okay, so I just want to be very clear. How do I know that, Rose? Here's how I know it. What happened to me? And I don't have a family. I don't have, at this point, I don't have the kids, but I have a business. My day starts at 4 in the morning and it stops at 10 at night. My friends look at me like they want to do an intervention. But what's the difference for me now? What's the difference from what I'm talking about and what you just said? We're building something. And I know in my life, I've had to do this before. I know it's not forever. I'm fueled by the passion and the purpose to create a better world. Not the people we're talking about that don't know how to juggle 500 different balls with 2 hands. They don't know that. I'm different. I can carve my day out. I can work those hours, but I can also take 3 hours during the middle of the day and go play ping pong on my damn toe heels. But see, this is why people need the help. This is why people are in a position for healing and they don't know it, Rose. Right?
They don't know it because more often than not, they are not even aware there is a problem. What do you mean? I've always lived like that. This is how I grew up. That was my marriage, yes, it ended in a divorce. It was toxic, but it's over, it's finished. Really? So how come you are into a 3rd, 4th relationship and it's still a toxic relationship? How come you say you're okay, but something else is going on? And I believe that that people are convinced, really convinced, everything is okay with me, because the energetic ties, the family ties, they run deep. And I say that they are like undercurrent water. Look at the lake. The lake is nice and calm. Everything's fine. But if you step into that water, those undercurrents will swipe you off your feet and drag you right down. But until you didn't step into the water, you didn't know. And that's what family is. We are deeply, deeply interconnected, intertwined. We don't even know about that. And that's what I do. That's what I did when I worked on myself. I learned about these ties, and I learned how to work with them. And that's what I do now. That's how I help people. I help them discover what is below the surface. And then when they know, then they can address it, and then it all becomes easy. And it's like, wow, I was wrong about so many things.
Yeah,
I never knew.
That's it.
But wow, now I know. This is great. Bring me more. I want to do more. I want to be free. I want to be happy. I want to feel alive. Yeah.
But I think that's what we're seeing. See, that's the I call it the awakening, you know, and it's not even quite that. It's something else, really. But for lack of the language for it, there is a new level of awareness and consciousness now people have, one about their lives, one about the longevity, one about what loss means, what about what change means. Mm-hmm. Never have experienced this in this century quite like this. You know, my uncle once told me that the thing that came close was the Great Depression in the 20s, where people were jumping out of office buildings. You know, once upon a time, he told me, he's not here with us now, but he told me, Rose, he said, we're never going to experience that again. And I believed him. You know, I believed that. And then 2008, 9, 10, it really wasn't quite like that, but it really was. But what we've just experienced has given us an enormous opportunity to face our woundedness in so many ways and heal. See, I come from a very optimistic stepmom and a very loving mom. And the optimism of my stepmom would always say, well, how would she always say it? You know, things like every setback is a setup for something amazing. I mean, that's the way she lived her life. There's an eternal optimism. I get it from her. Every dark note she's ever had, including her own daughter's mental illness, you know, her other, I mean, I could go on. But see, that's what rubs off on you. That's a message for today. You know, we can change. We can change the way we look at our world. We can change its perspective. And, you know, when I think about this and people ask me questions about it, has it been hard for us as a business? We've had to get creative, innovative. But what have you done during this time? Are there benefits that you can't hardly speak about because they're overshadowed by points of despair? I got 2 new knees, Rose. I never thought I'd get 2 new knees. Are you kidding? I thought I'd live in pain till the day I died. And you know what? That just showed up. Part of what you're talking about today in helping people, and this is the answer to my earlier question, we can change our lives. That's the point. Isn't that what we're talking about? We can change our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we can. Absolutely, Dr. Pat.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. And once we get on that path of change, there is no turning back. And at the end, well, there is never really the end, but there is a point where we realize, wow, this is me. I'm happy to be me. I would not want to be anybody else but me.
Yeah.
And be grateful, be proud, be free, be relieved. Yeah.
Yeah. This is really the part that when we look at who we are in our own lives, that we have to make that decision, Rose. How do you help people make that decision?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
How do you help people make the decision once they have that awareness? I can change my life.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next? I don't know about you, but I've needed to get help to go what's next. Because if you've never learned the tool, if you haven't even learned about the possibility you can heal, if you haven't been given the level of awareness that you can experience freedom and joy and peace and love, you don't know where to start. And I know I've had a couple of false starts because I thought, just like my past, I know how to suck it up and do it, Rose. And that is not how I got from there to here. I had a lot of help. I had a lot of support. I had a great therapist. I didn't even understand what I needed, and I didn't know what I didn't know. I can talk about it now because, man, that was a lot of years of just figuring it out. But isn't that the work you do with people?
When I work with people, we pass through several stages from acceptance, forgiveness, gratitude. But not just that. We look at the reasons behind. We look at why did this happen to me? For many people, it's important to understand, to know. I guess one of the first things where we start is to face that we chose our family. Each and every one of us chooses their family. And realizing that and knowing why is already a very important part of the healing process. And then we just keep going. We look at situations from another perspective. We look at any situation that we need to look at from 360 degrees, not just from, well, this is what happened. We really look at the perspective of everybody involved. And that's another part of the healing process. And most importantly, it's to let go. And when we let go, when we accept, when we forgive, doesn't mean that we accept what happened. That we excuse whatever happened to us, or if it's in a case of loss, if we lose a loved one, that we give up on our loved one. No. This is about the person. This is about forgiving yourself, healing yourself, recovering yourself, finding your purpose, finding your joy again. And that's what we do. It's rather difficult for me to speak in abstract terms because it's really very, very individual to every single person.
Exactly.
It's what makes sense to you doesn't make sense to me. It's really tied to every single scenario. And this is only possible because of the connection to the energy. And that's why I chose to do the life coaching with energy involved, because the energy
just it has helps. To be. Everything's energy.
it just explains so much and speeds up the process.
Yeah. I mean, thank you, first of all. Let's just make sure that everyone here understands that, yes, this is a conversation, but this is a body of work. You have now taken everything you've just shared, everything you've gone through, and that has been transformed or transmuted into a wide range of skills that you use to help other people. And that's really the power of what we're talking about. You know, we're talking about family healing. And, you know, when you really look hard, there's so much that comes from what we go through with our family. And it doesn't have to be a direct family. It could be your ex, it could be your aunt, it could be your uncle, it could be any way you define family to yourself. And it has repercussions if it goes on its merry way. Thank you for creating a platform of energy coaching where you help people, Rose. Again, tell people how they can work with you and find out more about you.
They can contact me through my website, familyhealingwithrose.com. Submit a request for a free consultation, and it will be my pleasure to discuss with them, learn about them, show them some concrete examples of what I can do for them in particular, and see if we have a match. It will be my pleasure. And if I don't know how to help, maybe I can recommend them somebody else who can.
Thank you, Rose. Last question. What's your personal message? What would you like to leave us with?
My personal message would be, really take care of your energy. Take the ownership of it. Be yourself, be proud, but also take the responsibility, because you are responsible.
Yeah. Rose, thank you so much for today. Jacob, thank you for pushing all the right buttons, and thank you all for being the best audience on the planet. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Dr. Pat. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for joining Family Healing with Rose and Dr. Pat. Join live every month on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Come to unpack how it's possible to bounce back from your hardship and shine again. We don't have to be trapped in the memories of our past. There is another way. We don't have to take whatever life throws at us, even family. Continue to learn how our family history, our story, and society are all intertwined. For more information, please visit FamilyHealingWithRose.com.